Hello, good morning, everybody. I'm CB, and with me is Tep. And today I figured we will take some time to discuss the Universes Beyond question, especially with the new Hobbit set coming out. So, Tep, I'm sure you have some thoughts on Universes Beyond.
I have some thoughts on universes beyond, but well, you wanted to talk about this, so I'm curious as to what your opinion is because you're rather new to Magic, and you actually came in during a time when a couple of these were coming out. So you wanted to talk about it. So let me hear what your overview or what your idea
Mm,
your opinion, your generalized opinion on it is before we get into anything that I might have to say.
sure, sure. Okay, so main thing is like you always hear it like, oh, Universes Beyond, love it, hate it, whatever. So, like you said, in my case, the first set I ever got actually was as a gift from someone. It was like a Christmas gift, and got a couple of commander sets from the Lord of the Rings precons, basically the Lord of the Rings commander precons. And then I got those, and then they just sat on my shelf. But that was always like the first thing that kind of sat around, and I thought, oh, I like Lord of the Rings. I like looking at this art, and this is pretty cool. And then even though I wasn't playing any Magic yet, it seemed like kind of overwhelming to get into it. They were sitting on the shelf, and I would take them out, and I would buy sleeves for it, and it would just be kind of like this thing that I just had. So maybe a little, I don't know if that's pathetic or something, but basically it seemed so overwhelming to get into Magic, so I just had them there. And it was sort of like this reminder, oh, this is Magic stuff. So to me, actually, it didn't make any sense. I didn't see this universes beyond. I didn't know what that meant. I just thought, oh, you have Magic cards, right? And also, the Lord of the Rings is so fantasy, right? So, okay, I guess we have Lord of the Rings Magic cards, and that's just normal, right? So it wasn't until much later, probably like a year and a half later, when I actually was going to go visit you, and a content creator that I like was who normally does board game reviews suddenly was reviewing the Bloomborough set that was talking about Offspring, which is the this what's it called? That's the bird precon. And so he was looking at that, and I thought, okay, well, I'll pick that up and bring it along, kind of a thing, and then maybe Tep will teach me magic, or maybe not. Who knows? I just thought I'd bring it along. Yeah, and so for me, I basically thought, oh, Universe is Beyond, so why not? And I actually like that they are distinguishing it, saying these are magic cards in Universe, these are Universes Beyond, so it could be anything. Um, yeah. So overall, I'm like, oh, I'm pretty fine with this. And then we got Spider-Man. And then we got Marvel superheroes. And I was really like kind of on the fence. I was like, ooh, I don't know, like because now I'm playing stuff that doesn't look so fantasy. I mean, one could argue comic book heroes are, imagined or whatever, but it's certainly not high fantasy, not swords, not shields, magic spells, not mainly, right? So I was a little concerned about that, but I thought, okay, well then they'll just have that set. And then I saw the reviews come out. Many people didn't like it. So I was like, well, see here. So it's just some stuff people just won't like. And then they came out with the Turtles. And I was like, okay, I like the Turtles, but I'm not sure, like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I just don't know if I would really want to play, again, comic book stuff versus the regular thing. So I didn't go to any pre-release or anything like that. Um, then I went to the Strixhaven, Secrets of Strixhaven pre-release, my first ever pre-release, and that of course was an in-universe thing. So I like the progression. So I was like, oh, this is interesting, and I had a very good time going to that. I loved the people I went to the pre-release with. We released a video about it, so it was very cool. Um, yeah, and then we had this Marvel superhero set come out, which is the current set. Um, and I basically went to the pre-release for that just because, my wife said, "Hey, I think you need a break." So I didn't really care for the set. I was very strongly on the set of like, well, Universes Beyond, other than Lord of the Rings, isn't really for me. So I'll just go for the pre-released for the experience rather than the set. So it's just going to be like, all right, I won't really care about the cards. I just want to play some sealed magic. yeah, so that's how I went. And then I went with it, and I was surprised just how much I actually still really liked playing with those Marvel superhero cards. Um, so now I think I'm pretty firmly on the fence. Like before, I was very clear, like, Universes Beyond, other than the Lord of the Rings, no. And now I'm like, well, they actually, if Wizards of the Coast does a good job, like the designers, and they really give it some thought, there can be a lot of cool stuff coming out, even if you don't necessarily like the IP. So I'm firmly on the fence, and now I find myself in trouble because I'm reading all the lore for the in-universe stuff. I'm really loving it, and they're going to have Star Trek. And I freaking love Star Trek. But now I'm looking at the cards I see for that, and so I'm like, oh no. So today I find myself in this on the fence spot, and I know I'm going to go to a pre-release this Friday or Saturday for the Hobbit set. And that's an easy one for me because even though I'm firmly on the fence, the Hobbit is essentially the Lord of the Rings, it's in that same universe, it's still fantasy. So that's an easy yes for me. I will go to that. And even if I like a few cards, I would have no problem shuffling them in with other cards that are in universe because the art matches, it's still high fantasy, all that kind of stuff. So that one's an easy one. So I'm looking forward to it. But overall, for Universes Beyond, I think I'm pretty firmly on the fence, and I have to kind of see how it goes. It's sort of funny. And we haven't even talked about Edge of Eternities. I haven't played Edge of Eternities, but that is an in-universe set, and it is science fiction, and it's like I suppose that's a whole other thing. Maybe I should stop talking here. We should say we need to have a separate part where we talk about Aether Drift and the what is it called, Edge of Eternities, because those are kind of, yeah, a whole different story for me. Yeah, that's where I stand. So that answers your question.
Yeah, so to make it actually a long story short, they are just to summarize your experience. Even though you've experienced a couple of these, you have differing opinions on many of them. You end up on the fence,
Yeah,
so you don't really swing either way on pro or con. Now,
that's right. Jury's still out.
let's let's go back. So the what is Universes Beyond?
Hmm.
So for that, we first have to establish. So Magic the Gathering exists in a multiverse of existence, and they have a magic like actual like your classic magic concept as a center point of the art direction and the thematic design, right? But it's a multiverse of existence. So it's planes of existence, but the planes of existence, as they are within magic lore, all have like this overarching thing that it is magic, like actual classical magical concept,
Right.
inspired visuals, mechanics. So even though Magic the Gathering has a multiverse of existence, different planes of existence, and minor and differing themes across these different planes, there are things that cannot be done within that in-universe multiverse, if you will,
Hmm.
right? So it's very firmly established what Magic the Gathering is not, right? Now, when Universes Beyond first came out, the first Universes Beyond product that was labeled as such was actually Warhammer 40,000.
Hmm.
Warhammer 40K came out as a Commander exclusive thing, and then retroactively they changed some things. So what is Universes Beyond? Universes Beyond attempts to apply a magic templating to things that do not exist within universe, as in technology, races, species, and things like that, to entice a wider audience to attempt to be included in Magic the Gathering. So the Universe Beyond, Wizards of the Coast licenses out the IP and then does a wonderful job of applying a magic templating that is flavorful enough so these things come from their source material and they feel like they belong, which you cannot do with Magic the Gathering source material to include in those IPs. So the idea of Universes Beyond is, to my understanding, I may be wrong, mostly to attract an audience that goes beyond Wizards of the Coast's reach. So you have big IPs that have a large following that may not be into card games, but at the very least, they will gobble up and participate in anything that relates to their field of interest. So to varying degrees of size. Some of these things have been years in the making, some are fairly new. So the initial push was that these were things that were only going to be allowed, these cards were only going to exist within certain eternal formats of Magic the Gathering play. Eternal formats are things where everything goes, right? And they do not rotate out of style or out of season. So you have Legacy, Vintage, Commander, to an extent Modern. These are all formats where cards from all across Magic's history are legal. So the initial products that came out would not be legal in the organized play for competitiveness standard, for example. So because they were printed in ancillary products. So products that were outside of the legality window or inclusion standards. And as it is now recorded, we have 22, I believe 22 different products that are labeled Universes Beyond, right? So, but now since the Lord of the Rings, the Adventures in Middle Earth, we now have standard legal sets. So Universes Beyond is now becoming a point of contention, because now these things, which used to be a novelty and a way to get other fandoms involved in Magic the Gathering, these are now being forced upon a community that doesn't necessarily want to partake. But that community now has to partake because it goes into a rotational schedule where they will be exposed to these cards whether they want to or not, if that is the aspect of the game that they have always wanted or are participating in. So there's the point of contention that I see in the fandom. Me being primarily now, for the past 16 years or so, past 10 years or so, I have been playing Commander. And all of these cards were always legal in Commander, unless they were officially banned. So for me, it's a thing that it doesn't feel like Magic when you have something. I will have my SpongeBob block your Iron Man.
Right.
So these have a very distinct non-Magic feel. But this is not something new. People have been able to create their own proxy versions for casual play for forever, right? You want to do an alternate art on this card and that be your personalization choice, that's fine. So in that sense, having a card that exists in universe and you just put art or a variation of it out there that speaks to your sensibilities, as long as the people that you're playing with are cool with it, that's fine, right? Proxies are fine as long as it is socially acceptable in the play group where you're currently at. So but now having all of these IPs be in the standard rotation, even people that were not interested in proxying or were not interested in those IPs, or even negatively impacted by these IPs, have no choice but to partake if you want to keep up with your favorite game. So that is the point of contention for me there. So we can go over all the different products that are now officially Universes Beyond. And the one thing I cannot speak against Wizards of the Coast is that R&D, so research and development, and the designers all across the place, the artists, they have done an excellent job of making all of these cards from these different universes, these different IPs outside of the Magic the Gathering multiverse, be amazing. That is, there's no doubt about it. There's no way that nobody can fight me on this, right? And especially if you know about the IP, then you feel the flavor on the cards. It might be something minor, right? That this card, it's not just that it has Wolverine on it, right? But it actually, in its text box, it has the passive ability, best there was, right? And if you are a comic book reader or a character follower, then you know what they're referring to. And then you read what it does, and it's the best approximation of what that would be in the mechanics of our game. So the designers and the company that made this product to feel like that IP has come to Magic have done a wonderful job, right? So the question is not, is it good? It's awesome. It's excellent. There's no question about it. The question becomes, should it exist, right?
Mm.
Do you want Jean-Luc Picard in your Magic the Gathering facing off against Iron Man while Bilbo is stealing the One Ring, right?
Yeah.
That is a flavor discussion, right? There will never be an overlap in story of Magic the Gathering between these universes beyond. Uh, that part, right? So that is very distinct. Like you will not find that Tony Stark will invade Zalfir to kill Teferi. That will not happen, right? Because these universes, they do not exist parallel. They're very much just a way to put your favorite characters inside of a mechanic that you enjoy. So now we come to a point now with this thing that the cards are good, the cards are effective, the cards are powerful, no question
Mm.
about it. They mechanically and visually feel good. And the question it then becomes like this IP, should it exist here, even though it appears to be good to me. So
Hmm.
that is the question. And for this, I would like to let me go ahead and here. Let's go from here. I am on draftsim.com, just a list of all the Universes Beyond products. I'm going to scroll up because we're going from the first to the latest,
Right.
right? So the first things that came out were secret layers. Secret layers are pretty much just a wizard supported print to demand or print to existence direct to player sets, like a set of cards or decks or whatever, right? Not all of them are Universes Beyond, but this is
Hmm.
where this started. Secret Lair were the ones that introduced this, and The Walking Dead were the first cards, right? Where new cards were created, not just reskins necessarily, but these are
Hmm.
actually exclusive cards with art and everything to make it feel like they belong in Magic the Gathering.
Mm.
These specific ones were later printed in universe with a different art and slight modifications. But that's a whole different thing yet. So we started with this. And since they were secret layer, these were not sold to the public in general. You could not go to your game store and get these. You had to order them online.
Mm.
So, but this is where it started. And
Hmm.
these all they were made to feel more or less like the characters in the show, if you're a fan of them, right?
Yeah.
So if you know Magic, then the different color combinations actually make sense, right? So pure white is something, and then blue white is something else, like in the concept of Magic the Gathering. So this
Hmm.
is where it started. And even here, it already made sense. These are not the best versions of Universes Beyond, but these are the first,
Yeah.
right? And the card is very much taken from the show and then applied to a watercoloring, so to speak, right? So these were painted or made to look like they were painted. So this is where it
Yeah.
started. Next up came Stranger Things. This is just after season one, right? So and again, with the same treatment, sort of, to make everything feel like within the mechanics of Magic the Gathering. But this is already where people felt like this is just too clashing, right? You have this 80s neon, colorful thing that is, it doesn't quite fit. Has a slight horror under theme. But again, these were not available to the general public, only those that would get it.
Well, meaning the general public can get it, but the point is you would have to seek it
It
out.
wasn't sold. It
Yeah.
wasn't sold in game stores. It had to be
Yeah.
ordered because these were direct to player, right?
Yeah.
And then we have now for Arcane, this is League of Legends inspired,
Yeah.
right? When they did the Arcane show, here
Yep.
we have reskins actually, and this
Mm-hmm.
is where we have the first instance where they give it a new name, but then they have the subtitle of what
Mm-hmm.
the original card is. So this is a reskin. This is what I would consider a proxy, right? So
Yeah.
you just have the functionally the same card, you just rename it and give it an art, so it feels like it belongs, right? So Arcane and Fortnite, this is they didn't do new cards, they did reskins.
Yeah.
So
That's
again,
like
this
having
is
the
this
that's like having the Yavimaya Fangorn Forest card, the one that I have. Yeah. Where
exactly. So
basically it turns everything. Mhm.
this templating was then applied to that. It didn't
Yeah.
exist prior to Ikoria actually,
Mm.
right? So and then we have Street Fighter. Again, you could only get them all
I didn't even know about this one.
and everything so far that I've scrolled through, these are all now available mostly in universe versions. So they
Mm.
reprinted them in universe. So with the more of the art nuances and even some changing to make these work within universe, right? So where you have the Hadoken is a lightning bolt, right? So lightning bolt already exists. So there's one reskin and multiple new characters. Even here, right? So this, I mean, you've played Street Fighter 2 back in the day with me, right?
Yeah.
So these all feel like they can, this is the best approximation of what this would be in universe. So design is never a question. These have been good. Some way over the top and some less so, but all good. Here we have, what is this? This is, these are reskins from Warhammer.
Hmm.
And some other stuff, right? So these all look good, but it's all secret layers so far. And now we go to what was branded the first time that we used the Universes Beyond was with Warhammer 40K,
Mm.
right? So the Warhammer 40K decks, which I totally bought into. I used to play Warhammer 40K tabletop. I still have my army at my friend's place. So, and I knew about the lore and I knew about the feel, and they all felt great. But this is the first time that actually a product was sold in stores that was labeled Universes Beyond. Again, these feel great if you know about the source material. But these were only available to Commander players or in the Commander format, and therefore in the other Eternal formats as well. Sorry.
Yeah, and we've actually done a couple of plays of these guys on our channel here. You've had Bellacore fight several in-universe people, and we've also had Marnius, right? Those are the two we
Marnius
have on the
Calva.
channel so far. Hmm.
Yeah, so I really like them, and mechanically, again, they work within the universe and they feel flavorful.
Hmm.
These cards will never be reprinted in universe.
Hmm.
Reason being that there was an IP related thing here.
Hmm.
The cards, like the Tyranids, which are Zergs from StarCraft, essentially, these
Hmm.
are a creature type that does not exist within the Magic the Gathering multiverse.
Hmm.
So they cannot reprint these cards that have specific types, right? So
Hmm.
here you have Necrons, which is essentially mechanical space Terminator zombies. Yes. Tyranids, which are space bugs. Then you have Astartes, which are space marines. So these are super soldiers that are bioengineered to exist. And then you have your standard humans. These were in this set. There are more types. There are space elves, space dwarves, and space rats. There's a whole lot of stuff in 40K. These will never be reprinted in within universe because they can't, because that creature type is copyrighted and depending on their license agreement and whatever, they cannot be created in universe.
Gotcha.
Different from the other things, which are just human monk, human warrior. These things can exist, just change the name of it, right? They can be a mechanical reprint, but these cannot. So this was never standard legal. It's only in the eternal formats that you can use them, and these
Mm.
were printed for the first time to the player. Everything after this, we have a mix of secret layer drops and then event-specific things like we have there's just so many. Actually, let me just stop the share here. This is just the beginnings of it, right? So first we started with exclusive cards printed direct to player. Then we have sets, then we have commander printings, which are only available to a subset of Magic players.
Hmm.
And then we get into things that are functional reprints, and then things that are printed to the player, where a set now becomes standard playable. So even people that don't want to participate in the fantasy of this thing existing within universe now have to.
Well, let's talk about that because you go into, and of course, I would actually love to go through the rest of the Universes Beyond sets and stuff just to see it. It'd be cool to have it in the video. But you brought this up a couple of times. And so here's the thing. What you brought up is to say essentially now people who just play whatever form of Magic are essentially forced to allow or to play with Universes Beyond content. Is that's what you're essentially positing, right?
Yes.
Well, isn't it though basically like each person's decision? Like, I mean, so let's say to play Commander, you need your pod, right? Like you maybe play Commander one-on-one, but typically you'd play Commander like in a group of four. So there's your pod. And wouldn't you normally just like talk about it on the pod level and say like, hey guys, I'm playing this one today, and be like, sorry, I don't want you to play that one. I mean, I don't think it usually goes like that, but doesn't usually a pod like get together and say, hey, we'll focus on these things. I don't really want to play against the My Little Pony Universes Beyond cards. Isn't that basically like more a decision on the pod level? Is it really fair to say that people are forced to play against it? Like if you go to command, I suppose it makes sense, right? If you go to Commander Night at like an LGS, there's a
And here
reality you
I
might
have
play
to
against someone.
interrupt you right here.
Sure.
Sorry. Uh, you are right that if you have a play group that is very specific, you can say these things and express it.
Hmm.
Do the others have to listen to you?
I don't know.
No.
I guess it depends on your pod, right?
That's no, they don't, right? As human beings, we have our own preferences and we make our own choices.
Hmm.
So you
Right.
cannot really tell anybody like these are the rules of the game. The card was printed officially, so therefore I can use it.
Mm.
And if it is to your liking, like you want to use the cards that were printed with Dwight from The Office on them, or the proxies that have SpongeBob on them, I cannot tell you that you can't use them. The company itself printed them.
Mm.
So that is that I cannot tell you don't use it. You can say I don't like it, but that's a me problem then, right? That's
Hmm.
not a you problem. So yes, you can talk to your group, but again, you're limiting it to your play group. And I'm trying to go a little bit more macro, right? So the thing is that when you bring in a new player to the game, the ideal way, according to Wizards of the Coast, is you teach them standard, right? What is currently
Hmm.
on rotation, what is currently legal in within the time frame that that standard format is going for, right?
Right.
So what do we currently have in standard? We have Final Fantasy, we have Spider-Man, we have the Mutant Turtles, we have Marvel, and in between we have the Magic the Gathering version of Hogwarts. Then we have
Right.
race cards that are animated beings to some extent. We have spacecraft. We have forest creatures that are not that are aggressive or passive. Then we have goblins, elves, Kithkin, and stuff from Lorwyn. So, so everything from foundations onwards, pretty much
Right.
what you got into up until now is in there. And there are great cards in here, like mechanically, not even flavor, like mechanically, there are great cards in here. The Thor that you used in your Marvel superheroes pre-release,
Hmm.
right? I do not want Thor in my deck, but if I
Hmm.
had him, it would go into my mono red burn deck.
Yeah.
Right? Even though I don't want him there, because it's
Mm.
simply the best version of that card for that deck that is
Mm.
available. So this is where I'm talking about forced, right? So if you bring in new players, they have no choice but to participate in standard. For you, we did it differently. I didn't teach you standard. I taught
Right.
you commander right off the bat. But
Right.
that was my choice by teaching you the game, and you accepted that that would be the
Right.
way. right? So I didn't give you a choice there. I just, yeah, so you want to learn, this is the way I play it,
Right.
right? So and you chose to go with it, but it's not the easiest way to get people into the mechanics of the game because just all the cards ever
Mm.
printed are available in that format. So you cannot simply look at it through a lens of Commander or of Legacy or of Modern or Standard. How does it affect everybody across the board? Because your point is, while absolutely valid, even Wizards said at one point, well, we print a lot of products. You can choose to partake in whatever you want, right? If it's not for you, don't buy it. They
Right.
said this, right? This is during the first uproar of this. But then they make it so that these cards are just universally good everywhere, and maybe even the best in slot going forward until they do another power creep or power surge. So they're not really giving you a choice if you want to be at a certain level, right?
Mm.
I did not partake in Edge of Eternities, but I
Mm-hmm.
do like I didn't purchase anything. I didn't get the commander decks, but now I have a couple of cards here and there through trading. So even though I didn't partake in the buying of it, it still made its way into my collection to some extent.
Yeah.
So this is then, and I actually have, for me personally, I'm not looking forward for Star Trek in Magic the Gathering.
Right.
You can say now, because of Edge of Eternities, which has spacecraft, but they're not from anywhere. These are mostly new designs, right? To
Right.
fit into the color palette, into the design space of Magic the
Mm-hmm.
Gathering. But they're designed, even with the mechanic wording, like warp, to work with Star Trek,
Mm.
right? I do not want Patrick Stewart on my card.
Mm-hmm.
I simply don't look forward to it. If it was a proxy for like his version of King Richard in Men in Tights on Aragorn the Unifier, I would choose. Yes, I would do that as a proxy to my liking, right? But that's not
Mm.
an officially printed card. So, you know, this is where it gets complicated. These cards in the universes beyond that are legal in standard or other formats simply become the best version of that effect. And in order to keep up with your play group or in the play space that you partake in, you have no choice if you want to be successful at it. Is it absolutely necessary? It really depends on what is the play pattern and the experience that you're going for. Are you going for fun and quirky? Then yeah, you use commons and uncommons and the rares you don't even give a shit about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, but this is the debate. Like, should they exist, even though they're wonderfully designed cards? That is the thing,
Well,
because card-wise, like mechanics-wise, you cannot complain. You cannot say that these things are not awesome cards. I can't, or well, in my opinion, you shouldn't. But to have Thor or Captain America on them, and it just doesn't feel right. But then there's many
yeah.
people that don't even look at the art. They just look at
Right.
the effect. So the more
Yeah.
competitive you become, actually, the less you care about the card name and the flavor. You want the effect only. So the most competitive players most likely don't give two shits about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's an interesting take on it. But kind of, can I just call out though, what a funny thing. You said this is the debate. Should these exist? And to me, right away, the first thing that goes like, well, the debate is over because they are here. You know what I mean? So there's no more debating, right? It's like, should they exist? Should they not? They do exist. That's a little bit like saying, should I have a kid? Should I not have a kid? Once I have a kid, I have a kid. I can't debate it away anymore, right? So it's there. And now the question becomes is like, how do you or do you engage with it? And that's where your assertion comes, like that actually people are now forced to engage with it because these things are standard legal or commander legal, whatnot, right? So that's a really interesting point because um, you have all these different aspects to it, right? So on the one hand, you have a company that has a very successful game, so Wizards of the Coast with Magic the Gathering, and going like, well, we want to be able to have lots of people buy into this game, pun intended, right? So, and arguably that's been very successful, like very famously, more than $500 million or something in sales this year for Wizards of the Coast in the so far, right? And I, for one, think that's really great. It's interesting to get people engaged. Like when I first came to visit you and I brought that Bloomborough deck, it was definitely, I had in the back of my mind, ooh, if I like this, this has got cute critters on it. My wife likes cute critters. We love playing Everdell. We like Redwall. We're going to definitely be playing these, you know? And it's true, like if I show this to my daughters or show it to my wife, they gravitate towards, Bloomborough or something like that, you know? And then if I were to think of myself, I'm more drawn to something else, right? So isn't it like, so anyway, so there's that part, right? There's a company making stuff, right, that people can enjoy. And I think it's valid for the company to say, yeah, we're making lots of stuff, pick and choose what you like, you know. If there were no interest, we wouldn't make it, kind of like that, right? So I think there's a little bit of something in there. Like, for example, the Spider-Man set was a smaller set, and generally speaking, people don't like that set that much. And it's not because they don't like Spider-Man. Spider-Man's super popular, right? But it's more like the feeling that you get in lots of the reviews that people say, oh, the set felt rushed, it was a small set, that kind of stuff. So you still have that going on here and there. Um, but it's just more like, basically let the chips fall where they may. People like what they like, play what they want to play. Um, I do
That's
think the
and that
point that
makes
you brought
sense.
up is interesting, that to say, like, now I'm forced to engage with it if I want to stay competitive or if I want to stay on top. Like, I'm not super competitive. You and me, generally, we aren't necessarily. Um, but yeah, it's sorry, let me go back to it. I have on occasion now sat down and I'll play someone at the commander night, and it'll be like Cloud X Soldier, right? And I'm like, okay, I don't particularly care for the art. There was never much into Final Fantasy VII. And he's just a really good commander for equipment, you know. And every time I'm playing it, I'm like, it feels a little bit out of universe kind of a thing. But I kind of like just chalk it up. Hey, we're just playing commander. Like I'm not really playing, like in my mind, I'm not really imagining I'm really fighting this person. I'm just going, we're playing just a game here, you know? And then other times I'll play against someone and they'll have a, generally speaking, like a magic deck, like, I don't know, like a Lorwyn centric thing or something. But then suddenly there'll be a Fire Lord Azula in it or something from like Avatar: The Last Airbender, right? And yeah, so it's kind of a mixed bag, I suppose. Where do you land in the end then? So basically, I said I'm very much on the fence. It's kind of set by set, case by case, card design by card design. How is it for you? Like you seem to have a stronger view one way or the other.
Okay, I'm very much also in the boat. Like my financial situation doesn't permit me to participate in every product release, right? I am on top of looking into the cards once they have released because people will be playing them, and I
Mm,
have to memorize, or I have the habit of memorizing at least the biggest hits from each set, so that I'm aware of the play patterns when I face them, right? And
hmm
this is the part that is in part amazes my play group and then annoys them. That I just want to tell them to mention the name so I know which card it is because I remember what it does, or I translate it into Spanish from across the room because I have this memory of these cards. So um, I I love the mechanics of Magic the Gathering. And mechanically speaking, I am all for the universe beyond cards because they're amazingly designed. Universe Beyond in Magic the Gathering to me is a flavor fail, right? It doesn't necessarily fit. Like Fallout doesn't fit in Magic the Gathering. And even though I love my Warhammer cards, they mostly don't fit within Magic the Gathering. Like flavorly or flavor-wise, it doesn't go, it doesn't gel. The best sets that still agree with the overall sensibility of Magic the Gathering are those that are founded in fantasy or high fantasy. So you have the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit now, and the Lord of the Rings set. They fit with the flavor, right? Because it is a fantasy-inspired world. Uh, Final Fantasy, most of it does, but then you have things that are steampunk or cyberpunk, which don't fit into the magic sensibilities, like Cloud X Soldier. The whole thing about Final Fantasy VII, it's a steampunk or cyberpunk almost situation, right? So it doesn't quite gel. It mostly does, but depending on which Final Fantasy you're looking at.
Hmm.
So um, I used to like the story of Magic the Gathering. They still do novels and stuff like that, but the new age perspectives are in there, and it seems very much that people are putting their point of view into it and how the multiverse should be of Magic the Gathering to reflect our reality. And for me, games are escapism, right? I want to get away from my everyday bullshit. So putting even the conceptual things in there of having to deal with the same stuff that you deal with in real life in there, I don't like it, right? I'm trying to get away from it. So I've stopped reading much of the lore except stuff that comes on in flavor text, which is a shame to me, but that's the decision I came to. I only engage with the part of the game that I enjoy, which
Right.
is what Wizard said I should do. So there you go. I cannot get away from the cards. I have not engaged much with Marvel superheroes at all yet, and I'm already exposed to Reality Fracture and to the Hobbit, so I haven't even had a chance to learn about the mechanics in Marvel superheroes, which leads to a different point, which is not Universes Beyond. It's product overload. There's just not
Yeah.
enough time to appreciate what you just got exposed to. Um, yeah, so, but maybe a different discussion. Um, I am in favor of Universes Beyond on the concept level because it brings new players into the game, right? Having something that speaks to you on an artistic or concept level that then widens your horizon or opens you to new hobby that you enjoy is wonderful. Yeah, so I and it's very effective from a commercial standpoint, right? So creating an overlap in your game to have people that were not aware of it now become aware of it and partake in it is good. Um, but I think for many IPs that are being brought into Universes Beyond, the people that you engage with it being an item from their universe, they might not engage as players. They will simply purchase it to have a collector's item.
Hmm.
The Star Trek fans will be one of some of those. Fallout, the same, right? People will engage with it because it is an item that says their IP on it, and it's now a collectible item to put into their collection in their
Yeah.
trophy room. So they're not even actually being brought in as players. But from a commercial standpoint, that doesn't matter, right?
Hmm.
If the product
Right.
is being sold, then it is
Right.
successful. The standard for Magic the Gathering from a commercial standpoint doesn't care how many people participate in a tournament. They
Right.
care how much stock was moved, how much
Yeah.
inventory was sold.
Yeah.
That is the only benchmark for commercial success. It doesn't care about critics' response, player response, or whatever. It just cares did it sell, and that's completely valid from a capitalistic point of view. And being having been an administrator for where you had to move product, doesn't matter if people really like it, but did they buy it,
Mm.
right? If something doesn't sell, that is when you adjust, right? But when
Right.
something does sell, you don't stop selling it, you get more stock. So there's no argument for me there that it has been very effective to move product. And
Yeah.
I'm very happy with my Final Fantasy collection. I have everything except two cards, right from the standard set. I have it there in my binder or in my decks. So I'm very happy with it, but I feel very nostalgic about the whole series. I've played every single one. So I know the story and I wanted, when they just announced it, I said, I'll get one of each. I
Right.
didn't even see the cards before I made that decision. And that is something that is happening with people. They will see that Magic the Gathering has a crossover with that and is now becomes a collectible item for their IP. It's not that they want to get engaged with Magic the Gathering. So they will get the whole thing, get their collections complete, and then bail because then it's no longer about their IP.
Hmm.
So I have no statistics of how many people engage in that way. Um, I can understand it because that's the way I did it for Final Fantasy, but I do enjoy the mechanics of the game. So again, I come back to the design of it. Design-wise, the cards are wonderful, right? Pretty much across the board. And even the Spider-Man set, the cards are fine. But did I need 80 versions of Spider-Man? I didn't. You could have named it someone else, right? They put Upstanding Citizen in that deck, and one of the cards is called Rent is Due,
Hmm.
right? So why did I need 80 versions of the same character? I didn't, right? So by creating for these IPs, you end up with a bunch of things. This is like, so when you can't just say I'm going to play Spider-Man, right? Then you have to, okay, but which one? Oh, Spider-Man UK. What? What does Spider-Man UK do? I thought that was Spider-Man 2099. No, 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 that's the Amazing Spider-Man. No, 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 you're thinking about the Spectacular Spider-Man. No, 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 you're thinking about Iron Spider. Shit, you see the point here is like there's just, yes, in the comic and in the comic multiverse, all of these characters exist. It doesn't make for an exciting set because it's 80 versions of Peter Parker or Miles
Well,
Morales or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
whatever. That,
Yeah, I mean
yeah.
yeah, I mean that's so that's an interesting point anyway. Like let's talk about that for a moment. Like product saturation, like there's too much of something, like a good parallel famously. I really like Nickelback. Okay, controversial opinion. I really like Nickelback. I think they're a great rock band. I love listening to the music, and it's fun. Not every song, but I have a ton of them that I enjoy. Like if I have a playlist, and when I'm doing a long road trip, love listening to all that on the playlist, right? And it's like Nickelback is often hated simply because there was so much of it at one point, when that big song was out, How You Remind Me, and it was just literally playing on all the different radio stations all the time. So that's one of the concerns also here I have with Magic the Gathering, because there is all this new content coming out, universes beyond and regular in-universe sets, right? And you said, yeah, it's hard to stay on top of it. You have to keep putting money in if you decide to, of course. But it's like the feeling is the last set isn't even all that old, and already we have a new one, we have a new one, we have a new one. And at what point is it going to feel like, yeah, now the designs aren't so good anymore? Because like, where's the fatigue setting in, right? So I guess that's like a worry, a concern, but it seems to be so far they're keeping up with all of that. So of course that's one of my worries. It's a similar thing with, actually, since we're talking about Marvel superheroes, with Marvel in general. I was very much a big fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe when I first started it. The whole assembling of all the Avengers that moves through, and now I don't even know which phase we're in anymore. I don't even know what you need to watch, and then there's been a few mediocre things coming out on TV shows and stuff like that. So at what point does it become too much, right? And I would argue that in some sense it already is too much. Like, I love going to pre-releases, I love going to sealed play, but every time I go, I have to do like with a different set. I'd love to be able to go and just do sealed. I mean, of course you can, but just go sealed on the same set again next weekend and stuff, right? So that's a really interesting concern. Um, I think
There's an,
ultimately,
there's an extension of that. Uh,
uh-huh,
you see always you get to participate in the pre-release on time.
right.
And most of the time here in Guatemala, we also have the pre-releases on time, but then getting more stock, more product to purchase actually becomes difficult. We don't have very many single sellers, and the product has a very limited amount that comes in, so we have to order from outside of the country. And supply chains being as they are, then by the time sometimes we get our hands on the cards, the next set has already released. So it's not even that we can't stay on top of it, we're behind already. And this might be even more exacerbated for other regions of the world, right? Where there's even a language thing, right? Where they can't even get it in English, they have to get it in their language. And there's so many different rules that impede the participation in the release schedule because there's not enough time to really do it. So yeah, product fatigue is a thing. It's very much it exists. Commander used to have only one release per year, right? There were between 3 and 5 Commander decks released per year. So we used to call that Commander Christmas. It happened in July or something like that, right? So you get new cards that are specifically designed for our format, and then we get to pick and choose from each set, like what will work in our format. But now we're this is something that comes from design, which again they're doing an amazing job, but there's just a lot, right? How many decks do people have, right? You have pre-constructed decks, then you have modified pre-constructed decks, then you have homebrew. Uh, I'm still trying out cards from Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
And it's been over a year. I haven't been able to play with all the cards in a meaningful way. So releasing new stuff, while it's fun to play with the new shiny, doesn't matter if it's beyond universes, universe beyond, or in universe, doesn't matter. If you don't have time to play with your toy, why are you getting it? Right? It's
There's a lot of FOMO, no? There's a lot of fear of missing out.
Yes, exactly, because there's a limited print run on things, and with the universe beyond, sometimes there's even an IP question, like how long will they have to actually print this product? Because from a design perspective, every set, it used to be that it is, if you the first time I heard about design was they're designed 3 years in advance, right? So everything we're seeing now was not designed in 2026. It was designed in 2024 or prior. I think it's now less than that. I think it might be 18 months or something like that because you need to design it, play test it, revise it, place test it, revise it, so forth. Then you have to get the art, the flavor, everything right. So the actual mechanics, what get designed first, and then sometimes you have to say like, okay, we need Wolverine in here, or we need 2 different versions of Iron Man, or whatever, right? And they need to be flavorfully mechanic, right? Not mechanically flavorful. The flavor of it has to inspire the design of it. So yeah, you go into like all the things we're seeing now, they're not made in response to player feedback now or even to corporate decisions right now. This is all old history. This is all stuff that's, yeah, whatever they have now in the pipe, that's already there. Whatever decisions from the player base, like to participate or not in the product now, do not influence the next set, or even the next set, or even the whole product release schedule of 2027. At best, right now, anything that happens now with the product will influence 2028 at
Mhm.
best.
At best, right? Because you
So,
need to play fair.
so the product fatigue thing. It's been a reality for a couple of years now, and people have spoken out about it. But now, why has this not influenced Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast to make any sort of change? If anything, they're accelerating. The reason is that people keep buying because of what you say, the FOMO. And I feel it. I feel it. Like when you showed off your pre-release cards from Marvel superheroes, I just looked at them like I should go get me a bundle, or I should buy a booster box, right? So whatever, because these cards look amazing, and I know it goes in that deck. I can build something around that. This would replace this. I know it. And I know that I will start seeing them in my play group because other
Mm.
people have a different situation. But the FOMO is real, and that's what I was talking about earlier, where you're like forced to participate. You want
Mm.
the best effect, you have to you have to get this thing, and you sometimes see it, like with Lord of the Rings, the first run. Why did it sell? Do you think that there were a couple of reasons? Big one, serialized one of one ring,
Right.
right? So anybody could open this thing. And then, of course, it got open in Canada, and then Post Malone acquired it. So that was a big chase because people had a payday coming, right? So if you opened it, you're set. Now, the One Ring is a powerful card, and it's still being used in every format that is legal in. So that was another one. That one moved bundles because it came as a fixed card in the bundles, but the bundles were limited. You couldn't get them after a certain point because they were sold out and not reprinted. So people were chasing specific cards. So Orcish Bowmasters and the One Ring are the big ones from that set. They're still
Right.
being used in every format that allows them. So, and that's why Lord of the Rings, it's still running at a pretty high price point. Now with The Hobbit, you get reprints of all these cards with a different art. And that's why you're seeing the prices online for The Hobbit.
Yeah, and the thing that they're doing also is they're reprinting the most popular cards, or what they call the best cards from the Lord of the Rings Universes Beyond set, as box toppers, right? So if you don't just buy a few packs, but you actually buy a whole box, that's when you have a chance at that, right? So that's certainly very smart to package it that way because people will do that.
Yeah, but this is for me when it falls apart for like Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro says, well, we're going to continue doing Universes Beyond because it sells.
Hmm.
Well, yeah, but it's not selling necessarily because of the IP, but because you put a mechanically busted broken card in there that is hard to find because it's a mythic rarity, right? So it's the best option in every format there exists. Everybody wants them. And in some formats, you want four of them, right? So, but if you put it at mythic rare, then how many packs do you have to open to get a chance at one, right? So it's not necessarily that the set sold because it's Universes Beyond, but it's sold because of specific cards in it that are just busted,
Right.
right? But then afterwards you can say, oh, it's sold because it was Marvel. It's sold because it was of Lord of the Rings. You could have named the One Ring anything else, right? Instead of a bird encounter, you name it something else. It's very, very flavorful, right? It's indestructible. It gives you protection to symbolize the invisibility you get, and it draws you cards in exchange for burden, which hurts you, right? To signify the ring bearer's pain, right? So this is very, very flavorful. If you had given it a different name and put it in a different set, would it have been less busted? You just had it wouldn't have been super flavorful in that. So this is
Well,
my
certainly.
this is my point of where it commercially falls apart. It will sell, yes, but is it necessarily the IP that sells, or those busted cards, which if they were flavored differently, they would still be busted.
Sure. Yes, I mean, I'm not sure if I mean, this is in the end just a discussion. I don't think we're actually getting to like a final thing because the truth is people will need to decide for themselves where they stand with that. FOMO is a real thing, fear of missing out, right? But ultimately, that's something each person needs to combat in themselves for anything, right? Like fear of missing out is called fear of missing out because you're not necessarily missing out, or even if you are, it doesn't really significantly impact your life. A lot of the times, it's a psychological thing, right? So
Yeah.
something to do there. Same thing as actually, then that's a whole other good thing to discuss sometime is when you engage with Magic the Gathering, with the game, how are you engaging with it? I think that would be a cool thing to discuss some other time because the way I see it, one is you just want to play. The other one is you want to be a collector. The other one is you actually are not interested at all, but you're like a scalper and you want to make money of it. So there's lots of ways. So we should talk about that some other
Well,
time. But there's
there
lots of
there
ways to
is.
engage.
Yeah, I mean, just to I want to do a quick. I mean, we're not going to look at each one. I just want to run down the list of the universes beyond, right?
Yeah.
So we have the Hobbit, Lord of the Rings Part Two, which
Hmm.
it fits in flavor to the mystical and magical world of the Magic the Gathering multiverse. I like it, right? I haven't seen all the cards in here, but it has some. I did read. It's one of the first books I read in English, right? The Hobbit, when we
Yeah.
came here. So some of these names, like an ordinary bear or the most decrepit old bird, an elongated gray dog. these are just these recall specific times in my life where like I
Mm.
read these things and it's a very Tolkien way of describing something, right? So these are fun. It's whimsical. It fits, but it's weird. It doesn't gel, but it fits. If that makes sense. Star Trek, complete sci-fi. Tell me
Hmm.
where's the magic in Star Trek? Like,
Well,
is there
maybe
a race
Q.
of
Maybe we can make
magicians?
an argument for
Maybe,
Q.
maybe Q. You're right. So Q, a little supernatural being that can bend reality and is whimsical,
Yeah.
right? So
Or
yeah,
we can
it's
talk
it's
about like what is it, the undiscovered, not undiscovered country, what is it, the Final Frontier? I think that's the fifth movie on the original series where they're chasing down the origin of God, and then it turns out to be like something else hidden away. And of course in Star Trek, sorry, just playing devil's advocate, of course in Star Trek they always say they always quote and say like any advanced form of technology will be indistinguishable from magic to a less developed civilization, right? But overall, on the whole, I hear you. Yeah, Star Trek is a science fiction IP, it's a science fiction thing.
yeah. I'm very certain that many of the cards that are going to be in this set I will mechanically appreciate,
Mm,
but it's going to be super weird. And okay, so it doesn't quite gel for me. But again, I'm not complaining about the design of the cards, as in the mechanical design, because that's been out of the. It's been wonderful on all Universe Beyond products and all in-universe products. I love it. So I'm not going to complain about that. It's just that the flavor of it doesn't quite go with it.
yeah, yeah,
Same for Marvel superheroes, you could make an argument for all the old god inspired stuff, Hercules, the Nordic gods, some of the magical races that are alien. Yeah, these even in the comics, the art style fits,
right.
especially classic Thor and the classic Asgardians. They fit, but it's not magic. It's
Sure.
in many cases. Uh, Turtles, mutations, the last Airbender, surprisingly mechanically it fit, but the best flavor was if you actually followed the show, right? So
Right.
if you followed the show, then all of this was awesome. Has some wonderful cards in it
Yep.
and some really busted stuff that I haven't even actually gotten a chance to really play around with.
Yeah.
Spider-Man, I feel, was a bad set, a bad magic set, because
Hmm.
of this thing that it felt like they designed it for something and then they expanded upon it, and then when they expanded on it, they just redid something, rehashed something that was already existing, and
Hmm.
just so many Spider-Mans. Nah. Final Fantasy, I'm partial to it, but I think it's 50% of it fits wonderfully, 20% is fine, and then there's 30% which just doesn't fit at all into Magic the Gathering. Deadpool was just a secret lair. The card is awesome, doesn't fit, but it's whimsical and quirky, but it's a secret lair thing only.
Hmm.
SpongeBob is just reskins of existing cards. I hate the SpongeBob art, so whoever likes this, good on you. I hate it.
Hmm.
Hatsune Miku is anime. It has its fan base. They love it. Reskins. Marvel Super Drop. These were the first Avengers, essentially, that were printed only in Secret Lair. Chucky reskins, Ghostbuster reskins, Monty Python reskins, Assassin's Creed is a small expansion set dedicated to pirates, assassins, and rogues. Mechanically very fun. It flopped terribly because the IP doesn't have a huge fan base that overlaps with Magic the Gathering players, actually. All new cards. I like them, but it's uh, eh. Fallout flopped, right? PC gamers are not known. I don't think that it really overlapped. The Fallout, Tomb Raider, and Doctor Who, they fell flat. They just didn't. I don't think that actually spoke too much to people other than the mechanics of them. Clue was a bundle only that was sold together with Murders at Carlov Manor. Uh, yeah, you have a wrench, And like pieces from Clue, the board game, put into Magic the Gathering, it didn't fit. Um, it fit less than Duskmorn to my tastes, the way that
Mhm.
it was done. So that was mechanically not great. Doctor Who just it doesn't have a huge following outside of Britain. Um, and yeah, now you have a card that's called Sergeant John Benton, for example, right? Or Sarah Johnson, Danny Pink. So just cards that just okay, so it's just a dude, right? And just a dude I can see on the street. It doesn't fit.
Mhm.
And yeah, so everything before here we pretty much went over. So the cards again, like for their IPs, they're well designed, but some things just they didn't land well.
Well, and
I
I mean that's the thing there though, all right? Like we talk about it. The truth is it's actually not that easy. It's not that easy to find an IP that you can design for well that's actually going to have a buy-in. So I would say props to the company for landing on the Lord of the Rings stuff. Because I agree with you, like when you said about the One Ring, that like you could have made it anything, make it highly chaseable. And that's probably true. But the fact that it was the One Ring and there was only one and it fits so well, that makes a big difference, I think, you know? So it's still like that's a tremendous feat to find something that works so well. But I see your point. Um, I think it would be really cool for us to talk, just to have like a particular moment here, and let's talk about The Hobbit, which is, getting pre-released end of this week. And it's a continuation of the Lord of the Rings Universes Beyond. It has some reprints of it as box toppers and other stuff. And that looks to be possibly quite successful because it fits so well in terms of art, in terms of lore. So many of the creatures are, very native to Magic the Gathering. So, what are your thoughts on The Hobbit as it's coming out now?
love it.
You love it?
Again, I haven't really looked at. I've seen a couple of cards that impressed me, and seen, of course, this the most decrepit old bird. The eagles are coming. Then there's some characters I'm rather certain are not in the book, like the Queen of Dale. I don't remember there being a Queen of Dale.
Hmm.
Um, but then again, I have not read every single book in the Middle Earth, in Middle Earth by not by J.R.R., not by his son Christopher. I haven't
Hmm.
read all of them, so it's quite. And I didn't read all the annexes necessarily. So there's a lot of information there. So just because I'm ignorant of something existing doesn't mean it doesn't, but I don't remember it from my reading. So
Hmm.
mechanically speaking, I think they're putting some stuff out there that has the potential to become new staples or redundancy effects or complementary stuff for old stuff
Hmm.
or in universe. It harkens forward to the Lord of the Rings well, right? So like the basis of it. If, I like the design of the whole the company of dwarfs. Like all they're from common up until rare. So all the dwarfs that I've seen, they seem good, right? So that there's it's well designed. Um, yeah, I would look forward to at a pre-release just go balls out on the Dwarven Company and whatever I open goes in there because they play well with each other. Seems like it. Then there's mechanically speaking, they have you've seen on a couple of cards that you can get the city's blessing, right?
Hmm.
In the past, which comes from Ixalan and the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. If you have 10 permanents, you get a secondary effect, right? Here they do the same thing or similar thing with storied, right? So if you control three artifacts, legendaries, or sagas, then you have an enduring story. An enduring story enables different mechanics. Like now your creatures have +2/+2, or you get to draw a card, discard a card. The story part, I think it is fun. It's a fun mechanic, relatively easy to achieve and build around for a sealed pool and even for commander deck. I like all the Smogs I've seen. I think he has like four different versions of him. So there's the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings have the similar effect on me like Final Fantasy did. It's very nostalgic. It's very dear to me. So I love it, right? But from a mechanic standpoint, I think it is well put together. From what I've seen, I haven't played it. I haven't seen it. I haven't immersed myself all that much, right? So very, very limited exposure, but I feel like that there's some good stuff. Ignoring even the reprints from as box toppers, I think that's fine. It will move products specifically because people still want the One Ring and Orcish Bowmaster specifically from the original set.
Hmm.
I like what they did with Gandalf in the sense like they show his journey. But again, this is a precursor to the Lord of the Rings. So you have to look at it. The hero's arc actually starts here and then ends in the Lord of the Rings set. Uh, because the Lord of the Rings comes from more adventures in Middle Earth, which covers the Lord of the Rings up until the conflict in the Shire and the reign of Aragorn, right? So that's
Right.
covered in the set of the Lord of the Rings, and here it's purely the precursor, which is the
Right.
company of dwarves recovering the Arkenstone or that whole journey. So I like what I've seen. I think it'll be a fun, limited environment. Uh, from a
Yeah.
flavor and mechanic standpoint. I think you'll enjoy it. Even though they haven't announced the full palette of Universes Beyond, uh, we know that there will be at least three more sets of Marvel
Right.
in the coming years because there's still three Power Stones, Infinity Stones, that need to be covered. So we had the first one in Spider-Man. We had the Mind Stone here in Superheroes. So there's three more. And I assume that it'll, either in the last one of those or one after that, there will be the Infinity Gauntlet thing that will be happening. So I'm rather certain that that will be it will not be of my liking because the plane of New York doesn't quite fit. But okay, so that's I mean because all of the North American superhero comics they essentially cover New York, right? There's very little outside of New York. So Spider-Man, the Avengers, it's always New York that gets destroyed, right? It's never Houston or anything like that. It's always New York. So the plane of New York is not my favorite plane in the in the Magic universe.
I'm very much looking forward
Well,
to this pre-release.
I'm looking to hear from your pre-release experience next time
Yeah.
because you're going. So we are recording this on August 5th,
Yeah. That's right. And
2026.
so,
So the Universes Beyond discussion is, of course, of import overall to the current state of Magic the Gathering. By no means are we actual experts. I've been exposed longer than you. I have my preferences. I want to reiterate, it's like the design team at Wizards of the Coast, and I could kiss them. They're doing just such a wonderful job printing mechanically interesting cards, complicated and wordy at times, but I love it, right? So there's just so much potential and so much good intentions going into it, and I wouldn't change it for the world from that perspective, right?
yeah.
And of course they have directives to go for. So if corporate makes a decision that no, it has to be Super Soldier and the Mutant Ninja Turtles, Scooby Doo, or
Well, I mean, I was going to say this comparison sometime. When you look at Toy Story, there's very few like in Toy Story, Andy, the main, boy character, like whom all the toys belong to, he doesn't have he doesn't seemingly have any preference as to like what he plays with. Like there's a piggy bank playing next to a sheriff, playing next to a spaceman. He just likes those toys. And I think most people who grew up like playing with toys or certain games, you go like, yeah, I'll just play the army men will fight my big piglet and stuff like that. And there's something really beautiful about that, right? And so I think it's neat that there is that possibility. Like if you truly wanted to play SpongeBob versus Emrakul, you could, and if that's the kind of way you want to play, it's nice to have that. And that's certainly not unique to Magic. Like there's so many other game systems that do this now. I'm thinking of, the unmatched system for board, and what is it called? Tabletop gaming. So you have the unmatched system where you can play Sherlock Holmes versus Genghis Khan versus you name it, like the I don't know all the ones they had, or you have Dice Throne, which is essentially like Yahtzee with different abilities, where in fact you can play Marvel characters versus like a berserker or something like that, right? So it's nice, and for those people who like that, it's cool that you can do it. Just like in Magic the Gathering, you can make your spider deck or your squirrel deck, and heck, I'll be darned if my squirrel deck's not gonna have Squirrel Girl in it. You know what I mean? So, so that, or if that kind of stuff. So I think there's a lot of value here, but it is unfortunate when you're being pushed to do something you don't really want to do. And so since Wizards of the Coast, in a sense, I'm not sure if it's really Wizards of the Coast, but someone's responsible for deciding what's legal in each format, what's not legal in each format. And I think there is certainly a case to be made. What a shame that certain things which really should be beyond are now also allowed in a standard play. Because for the people who truly care about that, who really are like purists and stuff, now they are stuck with it. And I think everybody else is, not everybody else, but I think a lot of other people are way more in the commander sphere, where you just want to play with more people and you want to play with outrageous stuff. And from what I understand, Universes Beyond was pretty much legal in Commander from the start, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that point I can see, and I can see why someone would be miffed, upset, or at least affronted to some degree that now, if you before you could say, if I want to do outrageous stuff like play the Porky Pork versus the Spaceman, then I'll go play Commander in a multi player format. Whereas if I want to play competitively, or if I just want to play standard, then it's going to be Magic sets, or we just agree we're only going to do play Universes Beyond cards from a particular set or something. So that part is unfortunate. And I'm not sure if there really was anything gained by opening it up so wide. I don't know.
It's I don't, just because I don't like it doesn't mean that I have to. There are always perspectives to this, and
Hmm.
commercially, it's just been a rotund success. So I don't blame the financial aspect of the company saying that this works to improve our Q1s through fours. Yeah, there's no debate about that. If it works, then do it, right? But and no one except their board of directors will influence that decision. Uh, Whatever moves the most to raise the profit line, right? So as business owners or managers, we understand this.
Yeah.
Uh, and for
So,
newer people, it's less of a problem.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, I do want to make this last point is like I doubt that people that come in through a different IP sticking around
Hmm.
necessarily. I would love, I don't have statistics on this, but I would love to see some if someone can get any of these, like regarding what's the player retention on people coming in through the Universes Beyond product, and what happens when that is no longer available or that's not what's being played with. Like, do you only engage because the IP had a run? Or do you engage with it because it had a run and then you stick around because the game is good? I
Hmm.
still believe that Magic the Gathering is the best card game that's commercially available. I've tried several of them, and the mechanics of this have had and still have longevity and depth more so than others. It's not the most simple thing, but I think it's the most elegant so far. It's the one I've enjoyed and played the longest time. The other one that came close was Legend of the Five Rings, which I would still be playing if the company hadn't killed it. But that's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's not for everybody, but I would be interested in seeing like what's the actual player impact a long term of Universes Beyond? Does it just bring in collectors, or how many people come in to engage with the IP through this game and then stick around? Because if that is significant, then keep doing it, because more player, more fun, right? More variety, more expression.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think that's a really good point. So and since you made the call out, we can also say for everyone here, hey, all of you guys here like listening, watching this video, hey, if you're in the industry or if you have been interested, you have any statistics on this for us, please feel free to post that. We'd be interested to hear. Like, you know, how many people who are entering from Universes Beyond, specifically from an IP like Final Fantasy VII or the Marvel superheroes, how many of them are staying for the long term? It'd probably be hard to tell since many of these are pretty new sets, but anybody knows, that'd be great. Also, we'd love to hear your opinions and your expressions on this. I think overall, the way we stand here is like, I guess we're on the fence overall. We like good mechanics. We like good work going into good cards. We recognize there's a fear of missing out if you try to stay on top. We also recognize there's a need to manage oneself and to decide what do you want to play, what do you not want to play within your means. Don't bankrupt yourself. There's lots of things to consider, but Magic is great. We love Magic. So let us know what you think in the comments and stay tuned. We'll have a follow-up on me going to the Hobbit pre-release this weekend. We'll probably have that in a week or so. So anybody with your comments, we're looking forward to hearing those. Like and subscribe, and thanks for joining us today.
yeah. Thanks, and have a good one, people.